Hi everybody, lots to talk about. So I wanted to speak a little bit about Suboxone. I have been researching that little lovely drug, and yes, it is a drug. So I've learned that it's derived, and we're talking about Suboxone. Suboxone is a combination of morphine. Sorry, I didn't say that right. And naloxone. So Suboxone is derived from the poppy flower, and it's derived from an alkaloid that is derived from the poppy flower, and that alkaloid it's spelled Thebain, thebain. It was developed and synthesized in a lab in the 1960s. And I wrote an article about Suboxone, like around, I think it was like January 4th, something like that. So on southeastbeautiful.com, you can find it there. There's lots of information about it. Science articles, studies that back it up, and breaks the medication down. But so anyways, my point is that I will never, ever, 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 ever support MAT, capital M-A-T, which stands for medicated assisted treatment. Sorry. MAT, medicated assisted treatment. I will never ever support that as a means to quit Kratom. That would be like giving somebody who has a coffee habit, that'd be like giving them cocaine or methamphetamines to help their caffeine withdrawals. And I'm not saying this because I'm being biased. I'm not saying this because I take Kratom and I'm pro Kratom. No. So that's another thing that is very annoying, and something that I want to lay to rest right now, because I'm on repeat. I am accused of being a blogger, being a writer who only writes pro-Kratom articles, and people say that I'm biased and that my articles are worthless. No, I take great offense to that. To prove my point, I do not sugarcoat things, and I'm not the kind of person who turns the other cheek to the truth just to save my ass. Excuse my language, but it's annoying. I don't do that. I'm not going to deny the truth or believe a lie just to save my behind because Kratom is helping me and da 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 da. I'm not like that. I mean, I still take, opioids sometimes, and I'll admit they're more dangerous. It's just the truth. It's a riskier medication. I'm not going to sit here and deny the black and white side effects. It's black and white. Yes, opioids have the risk for respiratory depression. It's a fact. I'm not going to sit here and deny it. So there's that. Anyways. But yeah, so, I did write an article titled Withdrawals. It's a very long article, so please, check it out. It's an older article, but I just wanted to bring that up because, it's long. It's a long article, and I wrote a lot about my point of view regarding withdrawals. Addiction. And because a lot of times withdrawals can be psychological. Addiction is a mental disorder. has a lot to do with mental illness, psychiatric issues. I just wrote an article today talking a little bit about a kratom withdrawal, how the drama that surrounds a kratom withdrawal is absolutely ridiculous. You know, people think, oh my gosh, someone had a withdrawal from kratom. They don't feel good. They have a runny nose. They don't feel good. They have a headache. Okay, you better ban the substance. It's ridiculous. You know, everything on the planet has a potential for emotional withdrawal. I mean, we are habitual creatures. That is what we do. As human beings, we are prone to habitual behaviors. That is how we are designed. Habits bring us comfort. And some people have a harder time breaking habits. Like, I don't have as hard of a time with that, but I mean, a lot of people do. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy. It's, you know, all habits are hard to break sometimes. Some are harder than others. You know, I think I'm able to like change and work on myself, I think, a little bit easier than some people. And then of course it just depends on the kind of person you are, your chemistry, and it also has a lot to do with the way you grew up, your childhood, whether or not you had trauma. For example, I know someone who, you know, they had significant childhood trauma in their lives, and like their parent would leave for months at a time, and so they have severe abandonment issues, and as a result of being abandoned several times when they were little, and now as a grown-up they can't handle any kind of change. Like, they are so rigid in their behaviors, and I mean the slightest little thing, I mean it's like almost just OCD. It's like crazy. But anyway, so you know, somebody like that would have a harder time probably like breaking a habit or changing their ways. Very rigid. But anyways, my point is that the bottom line is kratom is not killing people. Kratom isn't deadly like heroin. You know, this paramedic I was speaking to today, it's ridiculous. I mean, she's sitting there telling me that she sees people in detox centers who are trying to quit kratom and they're having a hard time. And she said, well, you know, I'm sure you don't want to really hear about it because you'll be scared. I thought to myself, no, not really. I mean, if anyone is going to be scared, you ought to hear some of my stories. As a psych nurse, when I interned, they put me on the water wing. That's what we called it. It was the West Wing. And I had the pleasure of taking care of clients who were addicted to water. It's not a joke. It's not a lie. It's not fictional. This is real. We have worlds and communities that are hidden from us, from the outside world. There are inner communities that you just cannot believe. They're right beneath our noses in mental institutions. I've worked in 3 different mental institutions for years, various ones, and I worked in acute psych facilities. I've worked with patients who have detoxed. I know what happens. I worked at St. Helena Hospital for years as a medication nurse. I understand about addiction. I understand about behavior. I understand mental illness. Nobody wants to talk about why people abuse themselves or abuse things, people, places, substances. Nobody addresses their underlying issues as to what drove them to abuse the substance in the first place. Banning something isn't going to solve any problem. Banning a plant because someone took too much of it and they're having a withdrawal is pointless and it's ridiculous also. What is that going to solve? The person still has the underlying issue as to why they behaved that way in the first place. And then meanwhile, millions and millions of Americans and people across the globe now are denied their lifeline as to what was giving them a happier life and helping them to function and helping them be better role models and mothers and fathers and better teachers and in their home life. My point is that people need to address their behaviors, take accountability for their actions, and get help. More counseling needs to happen. Cognitive behavioral therapy can help someone who has underlying mental health issues that's driving them to constantly want to self-medicate themselves. You know, if you don't have a significant health problem, or if you don't have a significant reason as to why you need to take Kratom, then ask yourself, you know, why do you need it? I mean, don't take it if you're having emotional pain. I mean, that's if you're having severe anxiety and depression and you've never gotten help and you don't know why you feel that way, you would never want to take something, or, I mean, and that has nothing to do with Kratom. You would never want to eat your feelings away. Same with overeating. I mean, we have a huge problem in this country with obesity, morbid obesity. I mean, people are dying every day because they eat too much and food is their drug. And what are we going to do? Ban food now? Or like restrict these people? No. But the hysteria that surrounds a withdrawal is ridiculous. But anyways, back to MAT, medicated assisted therapy. If you were to give that to someone on Kratom, you would be reversing, you would be going in reverse. That's just sad. And, you know, Kratom is not derived from any opioid seed or poppy flower. It's derived from a coffee tree plant. And that is the truth. I'm not being biased. I'm not making anything up to suit my needs or wants. This is the truth. In the words of Dr. Jack Henningfield, nature got it right. Kratom has such low traces of 7-hydroxymitragynine and mitragynine that it's too low to even harm someone. Kratom is not an opioid. By definition, Kratom is not an opioid. It's not even chemically made up the same as an opioid. Stop saying, oh, well, Kratom is opioid-like. Okay, well, chocolate is opioid-like. We don't have to classify chocolate and cheese as an opioid. That's ridiculous. So why do we need to do that with Kratom? I mean, that would be completely incorrect to classify Kratom as an opioid if it's not even derived from an opioid plant. That doesn't make any sense. Again, that is part of the FDA's disinformation campaign. Now, this is really important. I got to bring this up. If you want to start taking Kratom, be sure that you do your research and you order your Kratom from a vendor or a shop owner who is GMP compliant. Okay, GMP compliant, that means that they lab tested their product and it's safe. It's important to get your Kratom lab tested because, I mean, it can, it's important that it's dried properly in a sanitized way. If you don't lab test it, you can't check for heavy metal. You want to make sure it's safe. That's just important. It's not because kratom is dangerous. It's because it is coming from another country. And, sometimes maybe it's not dried in the most sanitary way. It's just a healthy procedure. And this is part of what the Kratom Consumer Protection Act means. And this is why I support the American Kratom Association and Mac Haddo and their efforts to enact the Kratom Consumer Protection Act on the federal level in 2021, this legislative session. It is beginning. Mississippi, they already have a bill to schedule kratom. However, Mac Haddo has spoken with Senator Tate, and he is interested in the KCPA. So this is good. This is good. But again, be sure that the kratom that you're purchasing is from a vendor that is GMP certified. And GMP stands for Good Manufacturing Practices. So if they have that stamp of approval, you checked them out, they have good reviews. Even better yet is to go on to the AKA's website, and they have a list of reputable companies, vendors. So you can be sure to trust them. You can message me. I have a list of really good vendors, and they're safe. They sell safe product. But again, remember, Suboxone is derived. It's an opioid. It's, kratom is a partial agonist. So before I used to support Suboxone somewhat. It is, of course, yes, it's better than heroin, yes, but kratom is a much safer choice. It's easier to quit. If you are looking to be free of any kind of substance and you don't want to take anything one day, like you want to, get therapy, you want to work on yourself, you want to just stop everything, well, Suboxone is not the way to go. Because I've only heard horror stories about that medication. Kratom is way easier to quit. But again, it has a lot to do with the person's mental state. I mean, even kratom, if you have a severe addictive personality, and if you have severe trauma, like mental trauma that you need to work out, that you haven't processed, if you have a lot of issues, like underlying issues that drive you to self-destruct, and this is how, your lifestyle is, you're just prone, you abuse things in your surroundings, you have out of control behavior, which is addiction. Addiction is like out of control behavior, is where you can't stop. Being addicted to something is where you keep taking it, taking it, and you can't stop at all, and you just do it to the point of self-harm. That is an addiction. If you are that type of person, you need to get help, because that means anything that you come into contact with, so many different things, you probably abuse. But it's not that thing's fault. It doesn't mean we need to ban it and lock it up. So please, if you are listening to this, and if you are against kratom because of withdrawals, and you think, oh my gosh, oh man, people are having withdrawals and they can't quit it, you need to please ponder over the words that I am saying to you. And look at the bigger picture. Look at all the millions of people that it is helping. The millions of people who are taking it for legitimate reasons and who are responsible adults. Alcohol produces actual deadly withdrawals, seizures. I have someone in my life who I've watched them, they're really hardcore alcoholic, And I know what an actual deadly withdrawal is. I know she was in the hospital, almost died several times from a withdrawal. Kratom does not do that. And if somewhere out there it does, then it's very rare and it's a minority. Nothing is perfect. Everything has side effects. Kratom is pretty darn perfect though. If people were getting sick from withdrawal and going into hospitals, we would know about it because the FDA, the DEA, and media, they try so hard to demonize this plant. If this were true, if withdrawal from Kratom was like heroin or something horrible, and people were like sick and like actually having like deadly vital signs, you know, something that's actually harmful. I'm not talking about not feeling good. Not feeling good isn't harmful. Harmful is being injured. You know, I don't think people really understand what harmful means. It's like it's just crazy. The chaos and confusion and hysteria. But if people were getting sick and close to dying from kratom withdrawals, then the FDA, they would have that put up in lights, like Hollywood lights here. Okay, they would make sure everyone knew about it. Well, be safe, and I love you guys. Take care. Talk to you again very soon. Okay, bye.